Hey y'all, Natalie here for a cherry on top, and today is Technique Tuesday and we're focusing on stamping. So I'm using this gorgeous clear stamp set from Craft Consortium. It is called Tell the Bees. It is a special edition, and I'm scrapping about this garden that we went to in my Live Crafted album. So I thought that bees would be a good stamp to use for a gardening album. So I have this piece of watercolor paper. I'm going to use it to create a background. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I actually prefer to do this technique on gessoed paper. The gesso allows for me to kind of move the pigment better. It did work on this watercolor paper, but just for my preference, I prefer to use white cardstock and some gesso on it. Because my plan is to stamp in these Distress Oxide inks and then create a watercolor effect, kind of fading out parts of the stamp. And it just works better on gesso, in my opinion. It moves better. It will kind of blur the image a little bit better. It worked well here with that yellow color, but with the other two colors, I don't know if I just let them dry longer before I tried to watercolor them or what. I'm using squeezed lemonade. That blue is speckled egg, and the pink that I will use is tattered rose. All Distress Oxides by Tim Holtz for Ranger. So I'm pretty much going to let the blue and the yellow blend a little bit, but completely dry before I add the pink, because I didn't really want them to blend with the pink. I also am using my glass mat, also by Tim Holtz, to put the ink on the mat and kind of add additional color there in the watercolor, because sometimes the Distress Oxides act a little funny and like the color will disappear a little bit, and that does happen with gesso, which is why I was trying to do this technique with watercolor paper, but I would prefer just to have to add more color on the gessoed paper and be able to move my images around kind of better than this paper was allowing. But I am still happy with the final result. It does look pretty, so that's all that matters, right? So I'm creating this fun background, like I said, with the stamped images and the Distress Oxides kind of blurring out some of the images. Now I've completely dried the page, and I'm going to add a title over it. My title is going to be Thrive. I used a die cut to cut out some honeycomb images, kind of similar to that background stamp. And then I cut out some gold glitter words in my favorite alpha die from Heather Alpha by Pink Fresh Studio. But they weren't popping very well. They were kind of blending in too much. So I decided to recut the honeycomb with bright white and then layered on top of that vellum. So that actually gives enough of a contrast to see the title really well. So I trimmed down the paper and I added it to some cardstock to kind of help flatten it out. But plus, because this is outside of the page protector in my Live Crafted album, so it needed to be really sturdy. So I added some background paper in the pink that matches the bottom color, and then I added my holes as well. And let's see, what are we doing here? Okay, I'm adding down the vellum. I'm just using a little bit of tearaway tape because it's pretty clear, and I'm going to layer stuff on top of it so you're not going to be able to see it really. And I wanted to use vellum because on the right hand side of my photo, I'm going to have a little pocket, and in the pocket is the journaling is going to be on vellum, and it's going to be kind of hidden behind one of the photos. You'll see what I mean in the final pictures here. Sorry, I'm not really sure what's going on. I must have messed up when I was deleting some footage and not deleted this long part. I was having a lot of problems with my Nuvo adhesive. I think it's time for a new bottle. I was having to do a lot of surgery on it. So I'm gluing down the honeycombs now. Excuse me. And I did 2 of those just because as an anchor for the title. And then I have the title again. I said it's cut out in just the outline of that Heather Alpha from Pink Fresh. I did it in gold glitter. And I'm going to stick that down. The idea for the title actually came because I've been repotting plants lately. And my favorite plants are the ones that say thrives on neglect. I mean, what more can you ask for? A living thing that thrives on neglect. So I I took the same pink colored cardstock and I'm using that same stamp set to stamp some images in Versamark ink. And then I'm using this gold Wow embossing powder to cover them. So I basically chose a bunch of bees and then a beehive, maybe a couple flowers there. And so I am going to heat emboss them and use them to embellish my watercolor page. And then I think that'll be about it. So we have stamps used as a background and stamps used as embellishments. So that's what I love about stamps. They're so versatile. I really love that this size traveler's notebook type of album is really great for any stamps that are used for card making. Because not all stamps are meant for scrapbooking. They're not big enough. Although I will say this background that I created with the honeycomb is big enough for a regular scrapbook page because I have used it on one before, like a 12 by 12. But I love using stamps that are meant for card making in my traveler's notebook because they fit perfectly. So there you have it. Hop down in the links. I'm sure there'll be a link to the store. And I hope you were inspired today to use your stamps. Please let me know if you have any questions and check out the gallery for more still photos. Bye, y'all.